Alright guys, in this video on my little series of More Than a Job, I was absolutely delighted to be able to speak with not just YouTuber but English teacher Taylor, who also makes YouTube videos, who also makes awesome PPT games. We sat down and we talked about life in Korea and also just the different lessons that she's learned about herself, just so many things. We had a really great conversation. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you're inspired by her journey. And as always, please show her some love, show me some love, and have a very good week. So thank you for watching the video.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm from the USA and I'm an English teacher here in South Korea.
Woo! Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Yes, of course.
So I randomly messaged you and was like, "Can I interview you?" And I'm so grateful for you for doing this. So I've been talking to my students about going beyond your job. So I'm really curious. What do you do? What do you do? What's your main job?
My main job is an English teacher, and then in my free time, I guess you would call me a YouTuber. I don't know if that
What's
sounds
your
pretty
channel's
official.
name?
My channel's name is Taylor with an E.
Okay.
I actually started my YouTube channel when I was in high school.
Oh.
So, actually, funny story. My very first video I posted on my YouTube channel was of Justin Bieber. So if you guys know him, I saw him before he was famous.
Oh, okay. At a concert or
no, so my high school took a trip to Stratford, Ontario in Canada, and he was like a really young kid then. So he was actually playing outside the theater for money, like with his guitar.
Really?
Yeah, he was like busking and everything. So I think at that point he was like huge on YouTube, but he wasn't like famous yet. And so I took a video of him and posted it to YouTube, and then that video blew up, and I was like, oh, maybe I should just do more videos.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool.
So I started it a while ago.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. I thought you started it here in Korea. That's really, really good. So you're a veteran YouTuber.
I guess. So, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. So are you satisfied in your job? So as an English teacher, that's what you are right now, right? And as a YouTuber, do you consider YouTube as a job or as a hobby?
I consider it more as a hobby.
Okay.
At this point, yeah. But I'm really satisfied being an English teacher here. I've been an elementary school teacher for, this is my 5th year. So I love working with the younger children, and I just...
Ooh, what age? Are we the same?
Oh, I am 3rd through 6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite class?
Oh gosh, that's hard. That's hard. I love working with my 4th graders, just because they know a little bit more English than 3rd graders, but they're still really excited to play any game that I can.
Yeah, I like that. That age of innocence where puberty hasn't hit them yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not too cool for school.
That's it.
And that's like 6th grade is when they start becoming that way.
Yeah.
But I still love my 6th graders too, so... Yeah, so I'm really satisfied as my job as an English teacher. Yeah, like I said, I love the students I work with. Before coming to Korea, I was a graphic designer.
Okay.
So coming here, I was like, oh, I don't know what my creative outlet will be once I become a teacher, because it's so different from designing. And I actually got into designing PowerPoints and games for my classes, and now I'm kind of really well known in the foreign teacher community for the games I create. So I just created my own website. So it's currently called tasteteachingtoolkit.com. So it's
big things, as they would say in English.
So a lot of native teachers here in Korea go to the site for like my PowerPoint games and stuff. And I'm now expanding to other countries, because you know countries all over the world have English teachers and EFL teachers, so I thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of expose, you know, teachers in other countries to the games we use here in Korea as well. So that's kind of like the other side hobby I have too. But yeah, I would consider English teaching my main job, and I love how stress-free it is. The kids make me smile.
Stress-free, did you say?
I say stress-free.
Why do you say that? Because I know many people won't say that.
I know. I think I've gotten to work at 2 really great schools here in Korea, where my co-teachers have been really supportive, and we work really well together and share that workload. And I also say stress-free because, like, compared to my job I had in the U.S. as a graphic designer, night and day, night and day. It was just so stressful. I was going home crying every night after work. So here, having just to design games and play them with students, I think it's really
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. I'm discovering so many things about you.
Yeah.
Do you think that having hobbies is important for a worker? Is that an important part of life?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I think you need a life outside of work and something just to keep you sane and something that you're doing just because you enjoy doing it rather than you have to do it. So I think it's pretty important.
Okay. Have you ever felt burnt out?
Here teaching in Korea?
Or just in general, like, yeah, here in Korea, but also before. At any point, have you ever felt burnt out?
Here teaching in Korea, no. Not at all. But I definitely felt that back home with my job as a designer. So I was a graphic designer for a fashion company called Express. So I would design signs and windows for their stores in all the different states of the U.S. So I definitely got to a point when in my job that I was just done with it. I was tired. I didn't feel like enjoying other parts of my life because my job was taking over so much of it. And that's the point where I was like, I need to change. And that's when I came to Korea. So it has been great.
That's really awesome. I think it's really brave of people to step out of their comfort zones. I mean, when you leave your home country, you leave something that you know so well, something that you don't know, and you don't necessarily know if it's going to work out. That was my case anyways. It was kind of like, I'm tired of this life. I want to move. I think I was in a similar position to you. I was in a career that I really didn't love. I was going to work every day and looking forward to the weekends and holidays and just not happy, not satisfied at all. When I came to Korea, I found that, I didn't have as many migraines as I used to have. I didn't see work as going to prison for 7 days or for 5 days. So it's a completely different, like mentally, I think I was much, much better and healthier.
I completely agree with that. You know, having a job where you don't dread going to in the morning is such a nice feeling and something, that you can take for granted, I think, if you haven't had that experience before, what that's not like. So I totally agree with you.
Well, I was gonna ask you how you overcame the feeling of being burnt out, but like you said, you moved to Korea. That was a huge
that was the big step for me, and I think at that point I didn't know if this job would burn me out as well. I just wanted a change, and I've always wanted to go, or at that point I always wanted to go to Korea. So I was like, well, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it just happened to work out, for the best. So
how did you hear about Korea? Like, how did you come across, like, you can teach in Korea?
So, how did I come? I'm trying to think how I initially came across it. I had friends who had taught here before, so I knew, like, you could teach here in some way. I think even the friend who I'm thinking about, he was with Fulbright, so it wasn't even
I know that program.
And that's actually how I decided to teach in Daegu first, because he lived in Daegu. And it was really cool. He was actually one of the first organizers of a Black cultural festival in Daegu. So I was really inspired by that. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And so, I saw he was teaching over here, and I think at that point I started looking at different ways you could come over here and teach. And at that point, then I had another friend who came over who did teach with Epic. That's why I reached out to her for like more information about it.
Oh, that brings me nicely on to the next question. I know I was not afraid, but I was concerned about coming as a Black person to Korea, what the Korean people's reaction would be like. So my question to you was, did you have the same fears, and what do you think Korean people are like when it comes to Black people?
I don't know if I would say I had fears. I definitely had doubts, if that is even the right word. But it did help. So both the friends who did come over and teach here before me, they were both Black as well. So hearing about their experience here and seeing the life they were living in Korea made me more hopeful for my life here. But of course, before coming, I was searching YouTube for, what's it like to be Black in Korea? And like hearing all these stories, So I definitely did have like that in the back of my mind, even coming to move here. But my experience has not been like that at all. I felt like, at least for me, Korean people have been so welcoming here. And even at my school, when I initially came to my school, there was me and another epic teacher. So I was black, she was white. So I kind of went in going, oh, they'll probably treat her better. She's like white, blonde, you know, all of that. And but it was nothing like that. It was nothing like my school. Like, again, just welcomed me with open arms. All the teachers were so excited to get to know me, you know, try their English with me, and all the kids, you know. It was also like, you know, my worries like, oh, what do little kids think of having a black teacher, because I'm probably the first black person they've ever seen. But oh my gosh, like I love the relationships I have formed with all my students, and it's almost really nice to know that their first experience with a black person has been a positive one, and I think that will affect them moving forward in their life when they interact with black people, you know, in the future. So yeah, my experience, like, I get this question asked to me a lot, and people ask me, have you experienced any racism and stuff here in Korea? And while I know it does happen here, for me personally, I haven't had anything of that sort happen to me. You know, there is, of course, ignorance here, but it's nothing like what I would find back home in the U.S., where I feel like that is more, comes from a very malicious and hateful place. Here it's more like they just haven't been exposed, or what they've been exposed to is a very, very stereotypical view of black people. So, and that's just living in a homogeneous society, you know, all their lives. So,
I agree with you. I found that here it's more curiosity than it is any sort of racism. And I want more black people to come. Is that how you feel too? Like, more of us should come.
I want more. You know, I really want more black people to travel in general. Because I think that is a fear for a lot of black people thinking about international travel. It's like, how will I be treated as a black person in these different countries? And it is kind of a fearful or scary thought, you know. And so that's kind of like the first step. But then the next step is like, if you take that leap and then try to live in another country like Korea, like I want that too, because it's such a great experience, and you will actually find that you might even be treated better here than you were back home. You know, so, and it's part of the reason, honestly, why I've lived here so long, because there isn't that fear or anxiety in the back of my mind of, you know, how I will be treated because of the way I look. You know, it's more so I'm a foreigner here than it is I'm black. So if they're treating me differently, it's more so because I'm just not Korean. You know, so they treat other foreigners the same way.
That's really cool. I definitely agree with you as well on all that you said about being black and being here. I think it's really wonderful. The more of us that come, the more people will learn about us and about the way we are, and that we're just like anybody else, and we're very different. All of us we grow up in very different societies in very different ways. I do definitely feel like, I think any foreigner, I don't think you have to necessarily be black, you are an ambassador of your race almost, or of your country especially, because I've heard people say, oh, you're from England? I met an English person before and I didn't like them, or I really like them. That means you must be like, that will happen. But especially in my university, I try to be the best black person they will ever meet. Because I know how important it is for the next person that comes in. I need to set a good reputation. So sometimes it feels like it's, you know, a heavy burden to carry. But I've loved it. Have you ever tried to change yourself a little bit? I know that initially when I first came, I didn't want to fit into any sort of stereotype. I didn't want to be, oh yeah, you're that black girl that, you know, hip hop and dance. Did you ever try to change yourself, or were you just being you?
For me, it's kind of been the opposite. I feel like I've been kind of more myself living here than I was back home. And I think first it has to do with the foreigner community I met here. So coming to Korea, some of my initial friends, they were all black, but they grew up like I did. So we really had a lot in common, and I could, talk to them about a lot of things that I couldn't really talk to my friends back at home because we had different experiences.
Yeah.
So I felt like I could be more myself with them, and that kind of made me more comfortable being myself than just in regular Korean society. And here, you're different, and I think there's a comfort in that because like you're not expected to be like everyone else here, so you're gonna get stared at either way. So why not be the best and greatest version of yourself and go on, because I know some people are, especially Black people, and I think Black women who I've talked to, they get uncomfortable with the amount of staring that goes on here, and I know some people actually leave because of that. I don't mind the staring, even though I still am like, oh, it's not really polite. But I kind of go about it as like, oh, they're staring at me because I'm a beautiful Black queen that they've never seen before, So
you turn it into a positive.
Right, turn it into a positive, and I think that's important, and it definitely helps you adjust to life here. So, but like I said, I think the fact that I'm not expected to be the same in Korean society just makes me emphasize my differentness. That's not even English, I'm sorry. Even more.
No, so. I felt like my English has gone down since I came to Korea.
Big words have gone out the window.
Yeah. And then for me, I came here with like a London, no, not even a London accent. Let's say from somewhere from England.
Yeah.
And then I was surrounded by so many Americans, and that changed my accent. And plus, having to teach, Korean people with broken English. I don't know. People are like, where are you from? So my next question, we're coming to the end, and I'm so thankful to you. What is it like kind of working and living around Korean people? Do you find it easy to make Korean friends? And what's your experience been like with the natives of this country?
Overall, extremely positive. As far as making friends, that is a bit harder, especially because I'm not fluent just yet in the Korean language. And I feel, how do I put it? The way I've been able to meet the most Korean people is through hobbies.
Okay.
So, like recently, I picked up playing tennis, which I've done for the longest, or which I had done for the longest time living in the U.S. So I just decided to pick it up here, and so I'm the only foreigner. I'm playing with a bunch of Korean people who all seem to actually know a really good amount of English. So they're always like super friendly, wanting to talk to me. They're inviting me out to play matches and stuff. And so that is the first time living here I felt like part of the Korean community, or felt like I'm part of some type of community here in Korea. So. But other than that, it's kind of hard to go out and meet people, I guess, especially because, I'm a little bit of an introvert, or I teach myself or other foreigners things I'm comfortable with. So, that hasn't been the easiest to meet.
And it was so funny because I thought when I come to Korea, I'll make all these Korean friends, and just like you said, I think you need to actually make a lot of effort. Korean people aren't just going to come to you and be like, oh, you're a foreigner, I just want to be your friend. You actually have to do different things and be a part of some sort of activity or community in order to be able to meet them. I think I had one or two more questions. The other question is, do you have any passive incomes? Do you have any money that comes in that you don't even have to work for? Because there's this notion of like YouTube, you can make money on YouTube, and you're doing your games. Does that bring in revenue?
No, YouTube used to, but with Epic and mostly with Epic right now, they changed their contract for where like even passive incomes are like, no, you can't do that. So I was actually contacted by my Office of Education saying I need to remove all the ads from my videos and stuff, and so they're really hard about it. So they are strictly hobbies for right now. So, but I'm hoping,
if you can change
change visas, or if there comes to a point where maybe like, I'm moving on from teaching, that becomes, more, of the main
the main way that you kind of earn your money.
Exactly.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
That's a little difficult because before Korea, I was a huge planner, especially of my life. And I was like, okay, by this year, I'm going to be doing this. I'll have a promotion. I'll be living here and doing all of that stuff. And I think coming to Korea, I am constantly learning to live more in the moment, not plan out every single thing in my life. And I think so. It's just kind of like the question about when are you leaving Korea?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You know, at this point for me, it's kind of a year by year thing, just because my contract's a year. So let's see how I feel at the end of that year, and we'll see. Because who knows? Maybe I'll still be teaching in 5 years. Maybe one of these like YouTube or my teaching materials website will have some new opportunity there, and. My goal, I would say, I guess if that's a better way to answer it, my goal is to not have to rely on a job for my
income. That's a good goal.
Yeah, really or I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even mind teaching because I love that teaching allows me the time to do other hobbies and things. But yeah, my goal is, or even just to have my hobbies become things that do make me income, but I still enjoy them.
Yeah.
So who knows if that will be in 5 years? It could be sooner, it could be later. But I think that's the ultimate goal for me.
What have you learned about yourself since coming to Korea?
That's hard.
Deep questions on a Saturday afternoon.
What have I learned about myself? Oh my gosh. I am capable of so much more than I thought.
Oh, praise God. I feel like this is a church moment. Hallelujah.
I mean, like you said, just even moving is just a big step.
Yeah.
And a step out of your comfort zone and kind of just keep taking those steps, out of my comfort zone and just seeing just what awaits me on the other side of doing that. Like, you just surprise yourself, and I realized I was limiting myself and limiting my experiences by keeping to this box, keeping to this comfortableness, I guess. And there's just so much more out there, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I learned about. I feel like I have changed in some ways. I think that's the biggest way. But yeah, again, just living day by day, living in the present. Yeah, I would say.
That's really great.
I think that's important.
Thank you so much. It's been such a lovely time too. I thought it was just, we're going to talk about YouTube and all of these things, but I think I've learned so many things. And what I love is that what I really love, and that's something that I really want to do as well, is that you see a skill that you have and then you turn it into something useful. I think that's really, really awesome.
Something that's needed.
Yeah, you find the market and you are providing for that market, and you don't know what that will do in the future. I mean, it's already helping people now, but you don't know in the future what doors that will open up or who will contact you out of the blue to be like, I saw your stuff, you're talented. So I like that you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think I and many people have the fear of is, but it's already been done. Like, what can I offer? How did you come to the point where you were like, oh, I'm going to offer this and it's good enough? Or did you just do what you just love?
I just didn't see that it was being offered.
Okay.
So, like, for example, with my teaching materials, like I said, I come from a graphic design background, and even though there's so many native teachers who come from different backgrounds to teach here, I was one of the only people who came from an art background, and I saw the need when I was, using other teachers' materials. I can actually make this a little better. I consistently kept seeing that happen. I was like, oh, maybe there's a need for this, and maybe there's a need for a place where other teachers can find like amazingly designed, well put together materials where all they have to do is input the content they need and it's ready to play. Because I found like all the games I would download from other teachers, I would have to like spend another hour on them just reworking them. So for me it was just like, oh, this really isn't being done, so let me do it. So,
That's really awesome. It's really, really awesome. I hope my students are inspired by your story and that they use their hidden talents. I always tell them, if you can play music or you can write songs for, your students, because there's always a song that I need for a certain subject and I can't find it, or they're terrible. You know, that's my big thing. I'm into music and stuff, and I'm just like, this song is horrible. But I'm not very good at writing lyrics.
But like you said, like you just never know where it could lead. Because I definitely didn't think I would be creating a whole website of teaching materials. You know, coming to teach in Korea, I thought this would be maybe a 1 or 2 year opportunity and go back home, try to find a design job back there. But you know, look just like where it led to. So just like go out and try, because you just never know. You know.
And I think that's where we need to end it. Go out and try. Just never know. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. My students, please check out all her stuff and use it and like it. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time. Bye.